What's going on, everybody? K to the 2 here with the CCL D-League. Yeah. Anyway, right on the screen right now, you're going to take a look at the team that I have. And before we get into the match, before we get into all of that, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly explain what my team is. Now, of course, it's right here on the screen. We got Tapu Bulu, Rachi, Chomp, Mantine, Weavile, Sylveon, Komala, Raikou, Conk, Rose Raid, and Chandelure. Now, this was a 10-person draft with a free draft. So no points, no tiers, no anything. Just pick whatever's in front of you and hopefully end up with a good team. And I felt like I ended up with a really good team. So, basically, I started out with like, hey, let's go ahead and grab Tapu Bulu. I was the 6th overall pick, and it was the last Tapu taken. And I am pretty thankful to have gotten it, because it, I think, is really good. At least it was on the ladder, and I get the chance to use it in draft format. So, we get to see how it does this season. And I wanted to pair it with a good steel type, which happened to be Rachi. And why not finish off the Fairy Dragon Steel Core with Garchomp? Now, the thing with this team, the only two rockers on the team are Jirachi and Garchomp, which is kind of a weakness, but we can work around it. It's fine to have one of them as a rocker every week, and sometimes you don't even need a rocker. Sometimes. So, that's going to be that for the Fairy Dragon Steel Core. I decided to get Mantine in round 4. Maybe a stretch, but also, like, Mantine's, like, really good now. So I got it there. Weavile ended up falling to me into the 5th round, so I was like, I need some speed. It's a ice type that's really good. It's a dark type, which is a necessary part of a draft league team. And then, even though I already have a fairy type, I did want to get Sylveon here, because Rachi, Garchomp, and Sylveon is an amazing core, and I don't have to lean on Tapu Bulu to be 100% my fairy type. Now it can be either a fairy or a grass type, whichever one I want it to be. Sylveon is just really good. Also, like, the thing with Bulu is it's 4 times weak to poison. Sylveon isn't 4 times weak to poison, so that makes it a little bit easier to just in planning. So there's that. Then I ended up getting Komala. Komala is a cool guy. It's a spinner, which I wanted on the team. And it's also a normal type, which is very niche in draft format to have a normal type. They just they deal with, like, bulky normal types deal with a lot of shit that just the rest of the team can't really handle. Like ghost types, of course. The only coverage that hits it super effectively is fighting, and then I already have like 4 resists to that. So, I ended up getting Komala, and then round 8, ended up getting a budget Raikou. Like, a really good, like, it's in a speed gap that I was missing. It's an electric type. I feel like it can be really good with the grassy terrain that Bulu provides, because it weakens ground, or it weakens, not ground moves, but it weakens Earthquake, so Raikou takes less from that. And on top of that, Raikou also, like, in the grassy terrain can get some recovery back, which it is one of the things that draws it back, is it acts more as a bulky pivot, like a fast, bulky pivot, I feel like, on this team. And just having a little bit of extra recovery is nice. And even on Calm Mind sets, it's getting back 12% per turn if it has leftovers and the grassy terrain up, so that's pretty nice. Next up, I wanted some extra priority on the team, and also a bulky fighting type would be really nice, so I ended up getting Conkeldurr. Rose Raid is there for a couple reasons. First off, of course, for spikes and toxic spikes. Very, very useful on draft league teams. Second of all, it's a poison type, and additionally, with the grassy terrain, it hits harder, well, of course, from the special side, than Tapu Bulu would, and having, like, a grassy terrain boosted Energy Ball or Leaf Storm from Rose Raid, that's going to hurt a lot. And then lastly, I wanted a Spin Blocker and also a Fire type, and I was like, well, Alolan Marowak went super early. And by super early, I mean like round 6, it looks like. So I ended up getting Chandelure. It filled a hole in both the Spin Blocker and the Fire type. So that's going to be the team. Let's go ahead and hop right over here to the game. So, week 1 we are playing against KMJ, and this is his team. This is the team I decided to bring. This Tapu Bulu is a subset with Zen Headbutt, Rock Tomb, and Horn Leech, which hopefully, like, it was meant to hopefully lure in something. As I set, or force a switch rather, force a switch as I set up a sub, and I can hit whatever comes in with a Rock Tomb and then a Zen Headbutt, or a Rock Tomb and then a Horn Leech, because after a Rock Tomb I outspeed his entire team. Like everything at -1 is outsped unless it's Scarfed, so yeah. That was the Tapu Bulu. Maybe not the greatest ring because Crobat does have Infiltrator, but Tapu Bulu is really bulky and I can play around Crobat accordingly. Next up we have the Raikou, which is Calm Mind with Magnet Rise. He had a Palisand on his team, so I was hoping that I could be able to get away with trying to set up on that with the Magnet Rise. Unfortunately, he did not bring it, but also fortunately, he doesn't have it. So that means I can spam Thunderbolt pretty much. His only resist is Magneton, and Haxorus doesn't really count as electric resist because it gets 2 KO'd after +1 anyway. Next up we have Jirachi, which is substitute with Toxic, I think. Or maybe, yeah, it was Subtoxic with Iron Head and Zen Headbutt because I wanted to go full Cancer week 1. Next up we have Scarf Garchomp with Stealth Rocks. Just a pretty standard set. The thing that most scares me with Garchomp is the Infernape. In case it's Scarfed itself, it can hit us with a surprise HP Ice. So that's something that I'm going to end up looking out for. Next up is just a standard as Weavile with the Life Orb and the knockoff and the Ice Crash Pursuit kind of shit, and also Ice Shard. Yeah. So that's Weavile, and lastly we have Mantine. Mantine has Protect in case he wanted to bring a choiced Magneton in order to revenge me. It also helps Scout for things like Thunder Punch if I want to. Although I'm fairly certain that... Dogs. Why? Right now. Dogs. Why are you... What? Doggos. Doggos. Alright, the doggos are finally quiet. So... Oh my fucking god. Anyway, what I was saying is, I'm fairly certain that he's going to have Thunder Punch on Infernape, so I can pretty freely scout for that by going into Garchomp, so I wouldn't have to click Protect anyway. And also, if I click Protect, that opens up the door for him to switch up moves in case he isn't choiced, and he can nail me with something like Hidden Power Ice on the switch, which wouldn't be that great. So, biggest threats against the team, Salazzle can be annoying. It'll be really hard for Rachi to beat Magneton if it's Magnet Pull, because I don't have U-Turn or Fire Punch or Hidden Power Ground. Haxorus, always kind of a threat. Infernape, I've used plenty of times. You guys know what Infernape is capable of. Azelf, Azelf can run fairly good coverage against my team. However, I do have Weavile, so I'm not too threatened by it. And also same with Crobat, because I do have Raikou and Rachi and Weavile, which I'll pretty much take on Crobat. So let's go ahead and just jump right into the game. So what I decided to lead off with was, I actually forget, so let's go ahead and get into the match. I lead with Weavile. I was half expecting his Azelf to be the lead, However, he does lead Haxorus, and I don't want to lose my Weavile right off the bat. I am not Focus Sash, I am Life Orb. So, I'm going to go ahead and make the switch into the Jirachi. As he's going to double into Magneton, which was a pretty good play. And I'm just going to go ahead and start Heart Stamping, and I get the flinch. Next turn, I end up getting lucky by him missing Thunder Wave, which kind of sucked, but then I reveal the substitute, and he now knows that he can't really do anything to me except for Thunderbolt, which might not break my sub. It's nice to know that he is not scarfed as well. He's more defensive, and like Heart Stamp was doing nothing. So now I have a substitute up, and I can get pretty much just a free Iron Head on the Azelf. And since he does show knockoff right here, I'm willing to go into Mantine to get rid of my leftovers, and then pivot right out into Garchomp expecting the electric move, which could have been risky. However, I felt like he would most likely go for that because knockoff wasn't going to be able to kill. He could have gone for a psychic move, but if he did that, he was risking Weavile coming in right on that. So we get in with our Scarf Garchomp, and we're just going to go ahead and take our kill with Dragon Claw. And we are scarfed, and he brings in the Haxorus, so I was like, okay, we can go ahead and take this trade. If he's scarfed, we actually kill him. If he's sashed, he can click Outrage, take the kill on us, and Rough Skin will take him down, so it'll be a double down. However, we bring him down to his sash, and he's going to Dragon Dance up, and we are able to outspeed him on the following turn because we are scarfed ourselves, and we naturally outspeed. So Haxorus was pretty much wasted there, and now he brings in the Magneton, which I can't really do much against. So I'm going to go ahead and switch out into Raikou, which I feel is pretty safe. I feel like I can start setting up against this Magneton. So I can go for the Calm Mind here, which is what I do. And he goes into Salazzle as he plops a Toxic on us, and we just straight up killed Salazzle with a +1 Thunderbolt. Maybe not the most impressive thing, because Salazzle is pretty weak, but also like that you don't get too many Okos on neutral hits. So that's pretty exciting. So now I feel like I can start wearing down his Magneton pretty freely. I'm just going to go for a couple of Thunderbolts, and he's just going to try and Flash Cannon. I think he's just trying to Toxic Stall me down right now. So we are going to go ahead and bring him down to 28% or so, and we just barely miss out on the kill, and he reveals Rest. So that was fucking sweet. So right here, I'm like, alright, well, I'm going to go out into Garchomp since I know that he's revealed his entire moveset, or at least Thunder Wave, Flash Cannon, and Rest so far, and I'm assuming he has Thunderbolt. Or Hidden Power Fire. Who knows? So I'm going to go ahead and make the switch out into Garchomp, and because he only has one immunity, I'm going to go ahead and click Stone Edge and try and catch that Crobat on the switch. So, I'm going to go ahead and go into Garchomp. I know that he has another turn of sleep, so he does end up making the switch. We almost nabbed the KO, and we are going to go ahead and go for Stone Edge again, trying to catch that kill. But he does make the switch back out into Magneton. The miss doesn't really matter. And right now, I'm pretty much kind of forced to sack Weavile in order to get back in with Garchomp. That way I can start actually trying to kill this Magneton, because Jirachi can't do it because it has Rest. Tapu Bulu doesn't have superpower, so I can't kill it. Raikou is really low, and Mantine is not a good Mantine is not a good Magneton counter. So I'm pretty much forced to kill his Magneton with Earthquake from Garchomp. So what's going to happen is I'm going to go into Weavile. I knew that he had an extra turn of sleep. I'm going to go ahead and go for the knockoff. And he's going to wake up, kill us with the Flash Cannon. So we get off a little bit of damage, and I'm just going to go ahead and go straight into Garchomp and click Earthquake. He could have switched there into Crobat. However, His Crobat was really low already, so he might not have wanted to risk that. And since I did reveal the Earthquake, he can go into it straight, or he can go straight into it right now and not take anything from it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight into Jirachi, since it does do some stuff and things against Crobat. He's going to go ahead and taunt us. I get a little bit greedy and go for the substitute, hoping to be able to dodge the Flare Blitzes from Infernape after I kill Crobat. However, I am going to be able to Heart Stamp this Crobat all the way down as he goes for Leech Life. I think Leech Life was a little bit weird, but now looking at it, it's like he has two options. He can Roost Stall me, but I have more Heart Stamps than he has Roosts, or he can get off a little bit of chip damage with Leech Life before he ends up eventually dying, because eventually I'd get a crit or something along the lines of that, and Rachi will be able to beat this Crobat. So, right here, I know that he's either taunting or roosting in order to keep his Crobat alive, and I'm going to come back in with my Garchomp and go ahead and I'm going to click, I'm gonna go ahead and click, wow, that was hard to get out of my mouth, Dragon Claw, since it does 2 KO Infernape, and he's pretty much forced to sack his Crobat in order to get in with his Infernape. So he is going to go ahead and taunt. And I'm going to Dragon Claw here, pick up the KO, and in comes Infernape. Now right here I am going to scout for the Hidden Power Ice. Also, I'm going to scout to see if he is Scarfed. And he does reveal the Thunder Punch, which is able to knock us out, but that also means since he switched up moves, he's not Scarfed. We can come back in with Garchomp and win the game with Earthquake. So that is going to be a 4-0 victory in Week 1 for our Harlem Gloomtrotters. Very first game in Gen 7. This was our first Gen 7 game. So, that was fun. And we have more CCL matches coming to you in order to try and catch up with the season as we're going. We are currently 7 weeks in, and I have 7 matches to upload. So, make sure to keep an eye out for them, and I will see you guys next time.